it's Nate Z. Looking about how I feel right now, it looks like it's been a crazy day. So crazy that I actually almost forgot to record this. Fortunately, I have a good roommate. But yes, Supergirl season 2, episode 2, Last Children of Krypton. This was very much a character-driven episode, but I mean that in the best way possible. Because the Metallo effects were cool and everything. And there were two of them, which was a nice twist I was expecting. But, in retrospect, now that I've just digested the episode some, feels like they were kind of barely in it. But, yeah, it was good. The effects have been really good so far. I remember when there was, the reason why it took so long for us to get a renewal notice was that CBS was trying to basically negotiate the price of the episode, but and there was concern that when it went to the CW, its budget would be cut, but it looks so much better. I mean, it almost looks like a movie. And speaking of CBS, my roommate pointed this out. It really feels like it's flowing better now that it's on CW, and just none of the Catco stuff feels tacked on like it did a lot of the time. Like we just we need a scene at Catco just to remind people Catco is a thing. But yeah, it was good in this episode. It felt organic. It felt necessary, and oh god, this episode was so good from a character standpoint, because we are introduced to Snapper Carr, who is, from what I understand, utterly and completely different from what he was in the comics. I mean, I have a passing knowledge of him in the comics. The only issues I've read of him were a couple of issues of Young Justice, where he was sort of like the mentor, but he sure as heck wasn't this grizzled, bitter, cynical newspaper man. I mean, thanks to the wonderful people at Supergirl Radio, I do know he had a journalism background. So that's cool that they're working that in. But even then, it's just, this guy is out of F's. There's no other way to say it, though. He better start snapping. That's all I gotta say. Rebecca Johnson will be very disappointed if he doesn't start snapping. Oh, but again, Superman was great. There's all this talk, or at least demand, for a Superman spinoff now, which I have mixed feelings on. But that's a super sidebar, and I'm sorry, I have to scratch my nose. Ugh. One of the things I liked that was the description for the first episode of the season talked about how Alex is feeling left out, and that didn't come up at all. And so I like that this episode shined a bit of an Alex spotlight. And she wasn't feeling left out, but she was definitely feeling jealous because Clark crashed Sister Night, and then Kara was talking about moving to Metropolis. So yeah, this very, I don't know if it would say Alex heavy, but definitely Alex driven episode, which is, again, I love Alex. We got to see her be badass. Oh, the final fights with the Metallos was great because, well, first of all, I like how they did the reveal of Martian Manhunter. There's this little girl watching the fight, and then, it's Martian Manhunter. But I like it's like, because right before that happened, it was like, it cut to the little girl, then it cut away, and like when it cut away, it's like, wait, did her eyes just glow? What's going on? And then Martian Manhunter. So that was cool, and then I love that they brought back the Kryptonite power suit, and that doubly worked because Supergirl was wearing the thing that protected her from kryptonite radiation, so they could just pull that out, and so yeah, it was fantastic. Win was played by my buddy Ryan. Oh, my friend Ryan, he's like a huge Superman nut. Like, he's talking about how his very first words were Superman fly. So just, when that bit at the end where he just, Superman goes to shake his hand. It's nice to meet you. I'll miss you, and he just hugs him. I was like, yeah. And he was played by Ryan. I even made that joke on Facebook, and Ryan commented like, "Oh yeah, I thought that too." The tension between Martian Manhunter and Superman was well done, very well acted. I do like that Superman, they turned over the kryptonite to Superman at the end, because it was one of those things where it was done really well, because yeah, Superman is right not to trust John Jones with the kryptonite, especially with what happened in this episode. The metal is being powered by kryptonite that was stolen. But John also had some very good points that they kind of need it. And then they brought up his motivation for it is because of what happened to him on Mars. And that he just doesn't want to be unprepared again. I was like, that makes absolute perfect sense. I mean, there was no wrong answer here. But I do like the extension of the olive branch. Here's all the kryptonite we know. They say all the kryptonite on Earth, but there's probably more. Speaking of the kryptonite, I like, again, they have more budget. Kara and I think Superman too, when they got hit by the kryptonite, they had like infected veins. So that was really neat. As it was set up in last episode, Cat Grant is no longer a series regular, but it was done so well, and it was done way they messed with my expectations with it, because Kara was going, after Kara finds out she's going on her big thing about, I don't deal with change, I'm gonna miss you. I was expecting them to cut back to Cat, and she was like back at work. It's like, oh, you're still here. But no, she's like, oh, Kara, and again, very sweet moment. And then Kara pulled her into a hug, and I expected Kat to like, no, I'm not a hugger, but no, she hugged her back. And it's something I've been looking for, because like I said, I was catching up with the Supergirl radio podcast, and I really wish I had known about this back when CBS still had the show, because apparently the CBS All Access thing offered commentary tracks for some of the episodes. And one of the tidbits revealed in one of these commentaries, the one for World's Finest, I would have loved listen to a frickin' commentary track for the crossover episode that I loved so much. Apparently the creators, writers, the guy who was on the podcast didn't say who said it, but one of the people in charge of the show said, yes, Kat still knows, she's just playing coy. So looking at these two episodes with that lens, how does Kara not know that she knows? And I guess, then maybe you can make the argument that no, she doesn't, because she tried to trick, but maybe it was just like, you could tell me, or just playing with her. I don't know. But either way you want to look at it, it was still great. It was still a lot of fun. I didn't quite tear up, but I definitely felt the proper emotions. I know. I promise I'm not being disgusting. It's not actually going up the nostril. But okay. Speaking of, I've said it, I don't know how many times, that the strongest part of the show is the cast. I mean, the second they announced, pretty much the second they announced who Superman was going to be, even though I never heard of him, I was like, well, he's going to be one of the best Supermen ever, just because of the cast of this show. They're not going to pick someone who's bad for the role. And I maintain that so far I've been proven right. One of the announcements was for the Doctor. I like that they didn't call her that in the show, but still the name amuses me. Again, listening to Supergirl Radio, all the hosts of that show were freaking out because they love this actress so much. I have never heard of her. I have no idea if I've seen her with anything else. But she was so deliciously evil. It was just... it's just like, I don't know if I want to say she was chewing the scenery, because that implies over the topness. She was just, it was one of those performances where I'm not convinced she was acting. She just, it was so effortless that she was so callous, and just badass in her ways. Like when she has, when Alex has her badass moments, like I will destroy you or whatever, and she just says like, well, that settles that then, and she just walks away, and that should be like stupid or anticlimactic, but no, she just walks away, and it's like one of the most badass things I've ever seen. So yeah, I cannot wait to see more of her. She's going to overshadow anything Lena Luthor is going to do so far. So yeah, I know I said the Metallos were kind of an afterthought almost, but she was perfect. We got to see the return of the Fortress of Solitude. I loved it. Again, that was a great John Jones scene. Let's see, I talked to Jimmy. One of the things or James the Grown Man Olsen, as they call him on Supergirl Radio. That's your new drinking game for the season. Whenever I talk about Supergirl Radio. They talked about how the writers don't seem to know what to do with him, because they said even in season 1 he was just sort of there. His only purpose was be to a love interest of Kara. And hindsight being what it is, and now that I have season 1 on Blu-ray and I am going back to watching it with that idea in my head, yes, I see it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can see where they're coming from with that. And this season so far, it seems like they don't know what to do with James, because so far he's been barely in the show. And, I've heard the story about what's coming, but I'll talk about that when the time comes. I have mixed feelings about it. But the fact that they are making him the new Cat, so to speak, that Snapper Carr isn't so much the replacement, but James is gonna... Well, Snapper Carr is a replacement of that. I'm just gonna... Start around. He's going to have a role. He's going to be running the company. That has some really interesting story potential, and I really, really hope they go somewhere really interesting with that, because we did get a taste of that when he had to be Cat for a day, because Cat went out of town, and that's the episode where Kara had to babysit her son, which is a great episode. So we got a little bit of taste of that, and it can be good. It could be a great fish out of water story, good potential. So I'm already over my 10 minutes, I see, so I don't want to ramble too much, but that has great potential. I really hope they do something with it. And I really do want to see more of James, because whether or not you think he was just a love interest, I like him I've liked what they've done with him so far. I like him as a character, and I really like his actor. Again, awesome cast. But yes, Last Children of Krypton, this season is starting so strong. Instead of a good pilot, great follow-up, and then the unevenness we've gotten in between. Granted, I am liking season 1 better the second time around so far. But yeah, season 1 just had a lot of issues, but none of those issues are here yet. It has issues all its own, but so far this season has a much stronger start than season 1, and I'm just what I've seen so far, what I've heard, what other characters we're getting. I mean, I can't wait for Miss Martian. It's going to be amazing. So, blah. And now I remember why I'm doing these. But this season so far has the potential to dethrone Flash as my actual favorite superhero show, which would make me happy, because as much as I love Flash, a TV show, Kara will always be my favorite DC character. So, yeah, I think that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.